I don't think one can ever say this understanding is completely integrated in my life and I have nothing left to refine. It's an having recognized the nature of our own being, having recognized that its nature is peace or happiness, and having recognized that we share our being with everyone and everything, there is then an endless process of realigning the way we think and feel and subsequently act and relate with this understanding. And the quotation that you quoted, love and do whatever you want, this was St. Augustine, who was asked a question about how one should live, how one should behave, what is one's ethical, moral duty, and to which he replied, love and do whatever you want. But by which he meant, recognize that you share your being with everyone and everything, and act in accordance with that understanding. As long as that understanding informs our actions, we can't go wrong. And that's why he said, all you need to do is understand that you share your being with everyone and everything, and just act in a way that is consistent with this understanding. You don't need a list of moral precepts. The list of moral precepts are just guidelines for those of us that don't yet realize for ourselves that we share our being with everyone and everything, and therefore we need to be kept on the straight and narrow until we do realize it. So I would say that my mind is continually being, my mind and my subsequent activities, behavior, relationships, the way I think, are all being continually refined by this understanding. And I hope it goes on forever. I don't think one could ever say, I'm done now. The activity of my body and mind is a perfect expression of the recognition of the unity of reality. I think at an embodied level, there are always little inconsistencies that go on and on and on being refined and become a better and better instrument of this understanding.
So a bit like sports, it's not really about arriving and getting the trophy.
Yes. I mean, any of the people that you spoke about, did they ever say, okay, I'm done now? I mean, is that what you see when you watch Federer and Djokovic? No, they just want, there's never a sense, okay, I'm perfect, I'm done. No, all they're interested in is just a little bit more. How would it be possible to go even further? How would it be possible to align my body even more deeply with this intelligence so that my body just expressed it that little bit better? That's why artists are nearly always dissatisfied. Apart from moments, there's just the odd moment, brief respites of peace. But then an artist is someone who's often dissatisfied, and their dissatisfied doesn't come from the sense of lack necessarily. It comes from a sense of that I can align my body and mind more intimately, more closely with this universal, impersonal intelligence, if we can call it that, love and intelligence. And therefore my paintings, my music, whatever it is, could express even more accurately. It could be more efficient at taking people to this intelligence and love.
I'm going to exercise my right that I withheld earlier. Very quickly, would you mind just sharing that story with the dog barking with Francis, and then how you then changed your view of things? Just briefly.
Yes, it was one of many such moments. So I don't mean to imply that there was just one moment, but there were many such moments. This was one moment quite early on. It must have been the late 90s when I was staying with Francis in his and Laura's home in Northern California, and there was a small group of people with him, and he was speaking about, I don't remember what exactly he was saying, the nature of reality. And I said to him, it seems so obvious to me that I'm here. I am located here in this body as this person sitting on this floor, and that there was a dog barking at the time on the other side of the valley, and that dog is at a considerable distance from myself, out and not just at a distance from myself, but outside of consciousness. I considered consciousness then to be limited to my body. So consciousness then was something I thought it's located in my brain. It's this little sphere of consciousness in my brain. So from that point of view, it seemed that the dog barking was outside consciousness. So he just said, put your hands on the floor. So I closed my eyes and I placed my hands on the floor. And he then asked me, where is that sensation? There was a new sensation generated by my hands on the floor. And he now said, where is that sensation taking place? Well, I should have said, to be consistent with my previous logic, I should have said it's taking place outside myself. I, consciousness, I'm located in the brain, and this sensation, not quite as far away from me as the barking dog, but nevertheless it's taking place at a distance from myself, and above all, outside of myself, consciousness. But something about the situation, my question, his answer, something about, I paused, I felt the sensation, just innocent, and I realized, no, the sensation is taking place inside consciousness. So my consciousness must somehow be larger than my head because it incorporates this sensation. And then my attention was drawn again to the barking dog. And of course, I realized at the same time, without Francis having to explain it, that the sound of the dog was taking place within consciousness, not within my mind, located in my head, but that it was taking place inside consciousness. And then from there, it was like it just started unraveling. I then opened my eyes and I thought, well, where is this perception taking place? The perception of the world. It's all taking place in consciousness. So then, and then this was accompanied by a very visceral feeling of expanding. I realized that what I essentially am is somehow larger than the world that I perceive. So there was this felt sense of being liberated from the confines of being located inside a head or inside a body. And I felt that the vastness of consciousness. In a way, the world became my body. Instead of just this little corner of the world called my body being where I was located, the entire world, I felt, not just, this was, I'm describing it to you, this all took place without thought. It was more in terms of feeling, but I'm now elaborating it for you. But so there was this felt sense that I had somehow expanded. Of course, I hadn't really expanded. All I had done was stopped believing that I was limited. But it seemed that I had expanded, and that now that the world was my new body, and that all of this took place not in a finite mind. I'm not suggesting this all took place in an individual mind. It took place in a vast consciousness, of which my own mind was just a narrow segment. So that was perhaps not the first, but probably the most powerful and complete. It's like it was my view of the world. There was a hairline crack in it already. From my early teens, I had been exploring these matters, so I already had this deep intuition that the world was not what it appears to be. So, and in fact, there were a number of hairline cracks in my view of the world. But my view of the world was shattered by this experience. I couldn't put it back together again along the old lines. And so it was accompanied by a great feeling of expansion and joy. But of course, it also precipitated many more questions. So I then carried on questioning, and of course, the old habits of thinking and feeling came back. So then there was a process of reintegrating my ordinary everyday experience with this new understanding.
Fantastic. Enjoyed that. Well, that is, I think, probably a good place to wrap it up.
Yes.
How has it been for you, Rupert? We both said at the start this is a slightly different podcast, certainly for me, for my Don't Tell Me the Score listeners, and for you. So how's it been for you?
Simon, I've loved every minute of it. You're a very, if I might say so, a very good interviewer, because I haven't felt for a moment that I was being interviewed. It's like, when you came on, I mean, we're off the record now, are we? Or perhaps we're not. It doesn't matter.
No, this is staying on the record.
This is on the record. Okay, fine. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's fine. When we came on, before the taping, before you started recording, we had a bit of a chat. Is the camera okay? Is the mic okay? We would just check it, and then you said, okay, we're going to. You asked me a few more questions. Well, I didn't really notice the formal interview starting. It's just like this is all the prelude. It's like now I feel okay. We've done our warm up chat. Now when are you going to start? When are we going to have the formal interview? It's had that lovely informal, and I think I don't think it's a coincidence. It's a skill that you have as an interviewer. It's very you ask very good questions, very pertinent questions. You give lots of space. You steer the conversation. So I've just felt I've been flowing. I've been in the zone. I've just been flowing. And it's only now that you ask me about it that I reflect on it and say I've done this and I've done that. But I had no sense of that. I just felt we were flowing together. If we'd been playing tennis, it would have been a very good game of tennis.